Hello everyone, I'm Brian and I'm going to be answering some comments. Give me a second while I find the first one. Okay, so the first question is you wanting to choose vanilla or chocolate is the memory. It makes you choose either vanilla or chocolate based on what you like the most, what the body wants based on past data, or similar preference from other sets of data. I agree. Turiya, pure consciousness which resides in us, doesn't actually involve in the decision-making choice of food, clothing, etc. Pure consciousness is untouched life form. I will have to make a comment on that one. So let me go ahead and before I continue reading on. So this is something that's maybe true. I don't know. Swami Sarvapriyananda says that who is the I in this? You can tell about the emotions, your thoughts, and everything's in your brain, but I. Where is the I? And I do believe he says that the I is not part of your mind. It is something else. It's pure consciousness. It's Atman. So if you say I, where is this I at? If you say I want chocolate, then is it really your mind or is it the consciousness? This is the reason why I say what was I saying on that one? But basically, where your decision making is based on your memory, which you're right in the first one, which I do agree with. Let me say I do agree with in your first one, where because there's this not a very hard separation between the turiya and your body. You think you, according to Swami, that most people see themselves in the body as one. So therefore, when they want chocolate, they say, I want chocolate. This body wants chocolate. I want chocolate. This body and I are the same. Therefore, I want chocolate. But Swami saying I and the body is separate. I is answering, I want something. The body's wanting it, telling the consciousness, say, I'm hungry. And then you say, I want food or I want this. The I is still your consciousness, Atman. I believe. Making choices can be done by physical layers of the brain just using memory, like machine learning. For example, machine learns and predicts what they may want. Which very much we are kind of like we're organic machines basically, and our brain is literally just a memory card, and the body is just different inputs, outputs, and stuff. I think pure consciousness is something that which is not affected by anything physical, metaphysical, or Maya. That everyone that I've learned so far says yes. Your Atman, Brahman, pure consciousness. It's unfazed by the physical realm. Anything, it's just completely unfazed. Nothing can phase it. Doesn't matter what it is. That which already there in us, awaiting for us to realize it and experience it. That's why we say Aham Brahmasmi. I don't know if I said that right. Only when we realize what it is. But so I was thinking about this question as I was reading it. So there's three things here. What you're saying is a little bit more closely related to Osho, where he says he's able to remove himself from the body and observe the body. Also, what I think either Sadhguru or Swami Sarvapriyananda has said, which is there's this, I think it might be Ramana Krishna. I'm not sure. These names I've heard very infrequent, but it's a story about a person who said that. So I guess someone asked, like, "Are you okay?" And this person said, "I am fine, but this body is in pain." So whenever he says, "I am fine," that I again is the key word, I guess. It's the sheer fact that whenever he answers, he says I. Like he could say this body wants chocolate or this body wants vanilla. Maybe if you said it that way, then it plays along with what you're saying. But Swami Sarvapriyananda says the I, whenever you think about things like you're hungry or you wanna, should I take a shower? Do I need to take a shower? Anytime you say I, it's speaking about the Turiya's. Answering the question of the thought. So, and that's the thing that I was saying in another video, is that does the Turiya get affected by the physical realm or something like that? Because your Turiya may be influenced by the body's memory. So, for example, again, it's the exact example. It might actually be that video we're talking about here. Swami, reality is not a memory. React. where whenever you think of I, your consciousness is shining a light into your brain, finding out what your body and mind wants, and then saying, I want chocolate or I want vanilla. So, so is your Turiya being influenced? And also, where's that at? You're saying that like machine, okay, making choices can be done by physical layers of the brain just using memory. So is our body, including our mind, able to operate independently from our Turiya? Is that possible? If so, then how do we know? I guess this kind of, I have not thought about this just yet because no one's really said this. If so, then why do we need Turiya if our body can operate with the physical layers of the brain? According to what you said, making choices can be done by physical layers of the brain just using memory. I mean, that's how most humans, as far as I know, act upon. I mean, you know, when we see a snake and we had a bad experience with a snake, we tend to avoid snakes. If we see ice cream and we love ice cream, we go eat ice cream. We stuff ice cream. But you know, if the body's capable of independenceness, I guess, then what's the point of having a Turiya? Then at that point, I do believe. So all very interesting there. I've not heard any gurus or swamis say making choices can be done by the physical layers of the brain. I've not heard anyone say that yet. I've heard Swami ask the hard questions of science, which is like consciousness, because no one in science knows where consciousness comes from, and I think that's what Swami Sarvapriyananda talks about. It's like this consciousness that no one knows, or is it Sadhguru as well? Sadhguru as well. Science can't explain it, and that's what the Turiya is basically the one that says I. So I guess maybe because the Maya, the illusion, or this body has a very strong influence that we cannot separate the Turiya from the body, therefore we think we're all one and the same. That may be the case. That's the reason why when we say like when ice cream is presented and you're like, oh man, I want chocolate because I love chocolate. I like chocolate more than vanilla, and then therefore that's the reason why you pick chocolate. Now, if you can separate yourself from, say, like the Turiya from the body, and then you can your Turiya may be able to say, this body just really likes chocolate, but I'll choose vanilla this time just to be an a-hole. No, but like you can see that the body wants something, and you're able to say, like, you know what? Let's not have ice cream at all today, where you're able to have full control of your body. Now I think that may be more so, which is what Sadhguru, I think Sadhguru is talking about in engineering. If you're able to control this body completely, your emotions, your desires, your everything, by realizing that you're not the body and observing the body, like Osho so far has said, that you're able to separate your physical, your intellect, and your emotion, those three things. And then you can separate yourself from the body, and you're able to observe the body. It's like you're able to observe that it's hungry, that it's pain, that it's tired, it's excited, it's happy, or whatever. You're able to see that from like I'm assuming like a third person perspective. Now that I do believe. I said a lot. I hope it made sense. But anyways, let me go ahead and try to find another one. Okay, so the next one is fascinating. I've always saw language as a sound of communication and nothing else. Never thought of it as a spiritual importance. Nice video and reaction. Oh, well, I didn't need to read that part. But anyways, so I still do see communication as sound and nothing else. And I thought about this question just for about 5 seconds, I guess. And I hope I thought about it enough. It's 5 seconds, you know, that's all you need. Anyways, so you can look at these things in two extremes. You have the left extreme and the right extreme. So the left extreme would say that sounds are just communication and nothing else. And the right extreme would say it's spiritual, has power and divinity in the words. I look at it somewhere in the middle. I'm somewhere in the middle kind of guy. So a great example would be like the Sadhguru one, where they're talking about the Indian flag. And Sadhguru was talking about, let's stand up for the flag as a symbol of our unity. And the a-hole in that one, everyone says, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was an a-hole for the way he presented himself. Now whether he is or not, I don't know. Is the fact that, oh, it's just a cloth with some paint on it. He's not wrong. It is literally just a cloth with some paint on it. Sadhguru is not wrong. It is a symbolism of something. It represents something. So these are the two extremes that I see. They're both correct. Neither are wrong. It is literally a cloth with paint. It is literally a symbol of the country. So, and so I still see, and that's how I try to translate what Swami says in How to Succeed in Spiritual Life. Was it Shiva and the Divine Mother, and everything. Shiva was the very beginning of the alphabet, and the Divine Mother being at the very end, and everything else in the middle was. I think it was all the alphabets, and with all the alphabets available, you're able to create the universe in a way, which I do agree, but not in maybe the same sense. So I guess an example would be, imagine. I can't see myself here. Okay, imagine if this right here, no one ever seen this before. We don't know what this is. I should make myself bigger. Anyways, imagine if no one knows what this is, and all of a sudden I say, this is a pen. The language has not really created the pen, but because we named it, now we have the idea of what a pen is. The symbolism of pen is this. What is it really? It's plastic, metal, and ink. But the symbolism is pen. Let's see, how else can I explain that? So I guess it's kind of difficult, but how I think of it logically, whatever that means, is that yes, because of language, we are able to identify the world, create the world in a sense, because this form itself doesn't happen naturally, but we can create it, give it form, and then a name. Language creates a lot of things. And it's similar to what Swami was saying, that with, I believe, the language able to create things, if I remember correctly. So because we're able to identify things, give shape and form names, we're able to identify it, know it, and know what to do with it, basically. Again, pen. If you didn't know what this does and there was no name for it, you wouldn't know what it is. And then if, say, you grabbed it and you started using, you know what it's for, but it has no name, then you wouldn't be able to tell someone else anything because you wouldn't know what to call it. Now imagine we do know what this is. Everyone knows what a pen is, and I say, hey, can you give me that pen? Can you use the pen to write? You would know what the pen is for, what it's used for, its purpose, and all of that, because of the language, naming and understanding things, able to communicate. I think I got that right from what Swami was saying, but of course it can be interpreted in many different ways. Anyways, let me go ahead and find another one. So this next one is about the Shabrimala issue. There's quite a long comment here, I won't read it all, but basically talks about how, I guess, the Supreme Court ordered the temples to allow women in these temples that are suggested that women don't go into. Again, for me, this is my way of life. Let me go ahead and say it. I said it in that video, but I'll go ahead and say it here again. Is that if there's any place of business that says that someone's not allowed to go into, whether it be based on race, gender, or whatever else, I won't go to that business. It doesn't matter. You can mark me as that one. Even though I'm not it, I will still consider myself that. I won't shop there. Again, there could be some special reasons why, maybe. But for example, if you say, oh, white's not allowed, black's not allowed, Asian's not allowed, Hispanic's not allowed, or Asian's not allowed, or just one of those, I'm that one. I'm not going there. At the same time, I want businesses to put whatever restrictions they want. They can do whatever they want with their business. I don't want government messing with them. I want the people to make the decisions that they want. So if there is a just say racist shop, I hope people will stop shopping there and that business will crumble. But not because of the force of the government, but the will of the people. Same thing goes with religious temples and stuff. Again, mind you, this only applies to private businesses. Public businesses that's funded by the government, I'm sorry, you have to let people shop in those places because it's government funded. People pay for the government. People pay for the taxes, and the taxes are people's money that are funding different things. So if it's a government place or government funded, you have no option but to obey the government because you're being funded by them. But if you're private, government has no right to come and step on your foot and tell you how to run your business. No, there's a government that says you must oblige by certain rules, like, ecological rules or whatever it may be. That's fine. Like, you can't dump dirty water all over the streets. That makes sense, obviously. But to run your business, a bit different. So, and also, I'm perfectly fine with like places that says men only, so long as there are places that says female only. I don't really necessarily like these kind of places because it's a form of separation, but at the same time, I do understand certain people need certain places to be only male or only female because of issues with the other sex. I just hope it doesn't grow, because if there's issues with the other sex and we begin to separate ourselves continuously, it could put another divide, another reason to fight over. But again, for these separations for the purposes because they don't cooperate, not because of other things. So, like for feminine or masculine energy, so long as they're cooperative and love each other, then that separation, it's not an argumentative or destructive energy. It's different. The energy that I'm a bit more worried about is the separation between male and female because of each other. And if we get in, then because this becomes echo chambers in the sense that all the men that have issues with females start talking to each other. It's like, oh yeah, women, 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 this, and all the women that are in this area talk about men, 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 this, and it's like, oh, it's echoing. But what it seems like they're talking about here is completely different. And again, I don't believe the government should have force. If these temples are privately funded, privately owned, and not funded by the government at all, then the government has no business forcing them to do anything. Next question. Okay, so for this next one, the video was IIT, India Institute of Technology, 60-minute React. Someone said, no, it is completely central government institution, so no chance of corruption. I'm going to make this kind of simple, and you can decide however you want to interpret this. First and foremost, do you believe people are corruptible? And if so, who's running the government? I believe that people are corruptible. Do I believe that the government's corrupt? Well, the government isn't exactly like one person or anything. There's multiple people, and corruption can sneak in no matter what. If there's people involved, people can be corrupted, and government can be corrupted. No matter what kind of business or whatever, it generally can start off really good, honestly. You look at a lot of movements, the feminist movements back in the day, I don't know exactly when, very good reasons why they wanted equality. But now it's been corrupted by a lot of the extremists. You can look at Black Lives Matter. They very much have a legitimate cause, but then they get corrupted by the extreme version of Black Lives Matter, where they're destroying the cities that they live in, black communities, killing black people. Of course, the good portion of the Black Lives Matter is not going to say, oh, those are not true Black Lives Matter, and very much so, but they take up that banner to use that corruption. And there are some Black Lives Matter who really does that, really do those. They form their own communities and do this kind of stuff. So again, because people are corruptible, there's no such thing as a pure, no chance of corruption, in my opinion. So that's the only thing I ask of you, is that, do you believe humans are corruptible? And if they are, then nothing that humans are involved with are no chance of corruption. It will get corrupted eventually if it hasn't happened yet. Okay, so the next one is, life is not imperfect. You use a double negative there. So do you mean life is perfect, or do you actually mean life is imperfect or not perfect? So while life hence we're life, hence we can't be imperfect. Again, double negative there. We're life, hence we can't be imperfect. So that means we are perfect. we're just asleep. Sadhguru was talking about people limiting their capabilities by saying, I'm only human. What can I do? People can be fulfilled, people can be full of life and still be humble. Just look at Sadhguru as an example. He's full of life, aggressive, and still at the same time he's humble. This is what needs to be changed in our perception. I agree with you. So I'm assuming you're saying life, I think this is what you meant. I'm assuming. Life is imperfect, or life is not perfect. I agree with you there. If that's what you mean, God, my lips are imperfect right now. Obviously, life is imperfect. We're not perfect. No one is perfect. That's the reason why I say I like the phrase, "I'm only human," and I use that as a humbling term because we are not gods or anything like that. We can't change the world. We can't change everything around us. We can only change very few things in our lives. And that's what I want people to realize. It's not to limit you, but to humble you and to realize your capabilities or incapabilities. It's really bad to say the negative version of that, but it's true. And when you realize the truth, what you can and cannot change, I think life can become easier. Again, like what Sadhguru was talking about, how you can only have control only over this body and maybe maybe a few things around you. I have control over this phone. No one else does, for the most part, unless they steal it and then they have it. But you can't really control people. You can influence people's lives a little bit by doing good or bad things, and that's kind of the power that individuals have. You can look at religious organizations, or Sadhguru, for example, is a great example, like you were saying. Even though he has no control over the people, but he has a great influence in them to change your life. Him alone has no power over these people, but him being a human, understanding his limitation, he's able to influence a lot of people to do good. Again, he's not a god or anything like that, but yet he has great influence and he does a lot of good. So for me to say we are but human, it's just to realize that, maybe you're not Sadhguru, I'm not Sadhguru. I can't influence a lot of people to do good in the world. So I just have to understand the reality. And to say that we're human, again, repeating that we can, you're right, and this is what I want to point out, we can be full of life even if we are only human. That's the whole point. Understand the limitation that you have, understand what you have control over, and understand what you can and cannot do. It's not to say you're very limited, this is all you can do and nothing else. No. It's more along the lines of understanding what you're capable of, what you can do, and that's practically it. Because you don't want to do things that you're not capable of. Excuse me. That will make life a lot harder. And you don't want to, how do I say? Well, that's about it. You don't want to do things that you're not capable of. Especially things you don't understand. You could end up causing more problems even for yourself. So saying I'm human, it's merely just to humble yourself, myself honestly, to say that we're imperfect, like you're saying, I think you're trying to say, and that we can make changes in our lives, we can influence some people, do the best that we can with what we got, and hope for the best. Alright, end of that. Let me look for another one. Okay, so this one's more of asking a question now. Apparently I did get something wrong. I did go back to the video. Someone actually gave me a timestamp. It says it was on Sadhguru with Arnab Goswami, Conversation with the Mystic, React Part 2. 9:28. Actually rewind a little bit because 9:28 was I guess what they were done talking about. And I thought it was, I said, oh, I thought it was against the British. And the comment said, no, not British, he's referring to Pakistan. And the other person said it's about Pakistan, not British. I replied to that person, and I need to reply back. So he was saying that Sadhguru was saying 60 to 7 years ago, hatred for each other break the nation. So it doesn't make sense because I thought they were talking about just India. Now that I think about it now, is Pakistan used to be part of India, and that's the reason why Pakistan broke off from India, and that's what he's referring to as breaking the nation. Oh, I should have looked that up. When did Pakistan gain independence? If it was, I thought it was always a country, but our history class doesn't teach Middle East because there's already too much history in America as well, and then you got to learn about the major events in history. But anyways, so is that what they're talking about then? The breaking the hatred for each other is between Pakistan and India, not whenever I watch it again, not India against India. Well, maybe it was India back in the day. I don't know. So that's my question. Not answering the comments, but questioning questions. So I'm definitely going to look that up anyway, but I still want to hear from you guys about it. The breaking of the country and the hatred for each other, was that India and India, or was that India and Pakistan? And was it because Pakistan maybe was part of India at the time? I'm not sure. I will look it up, but I still want to hear from you guys. Next question. So real quick, I actually looked it up. The history of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan began on August 14, 1947, when the country came to being in the form of a dominion of Pakistan with the British Commonwealth as the result of Pakistan movement and the partition of India. I get it now. I get it now. You know, you can if you want to, but if you want to fill in a little bit more, but I get it now. Okay, so the breaking of the country, so Pakistan was part of India, the breaking of the country where Pakistan became its independence and India became its own. I get it. So real quick here, the comment on here, Advaita versus Bhakti and devotion compatible with non-duality. Everything is conscious. Everything is consequence of matter. Every matter is consequence of energy. All energy is a consequence of Brahman. So yes, everything is real, but in absolute sense, all is Brahman. Absolutely. And I finally get to use my board, kinda. I mean, let's say, so, okay. Reality equals, or absolute reality is Brahman. And Brahman is exist all things, existence, just basically everything. So in my mind, how my mind works is the fact that if you say like there's different levels, I believe, explaining, and then there's the level was what is it? Absolute reality. Reality. That's level 1. Level 2 was objective reality. And then number 3 was it was like fantasy, basically. Subjective reality, I guess, which is what we imagine, basically what it's talking about. Subjective words. Everyone has a subjective reality. Everyone that sees this is objective reality. This is a pen, and absolute reality is being Brahman. But if you say it like in this form, where absolute reality is Brahman and all existence or all things or all time or all space is Brahman, therefore let me do it this way. So absolute reality equals Brahman, which equals, just say existence, which equals absolute reality. This is how it works in my mind. So because Brahman is all existence, and because absolute reality is Brahman, so therefore existence is absolute reality. It's a circle in a sense. It's like the infinite loop thing. So Brahman, just say that's Brahman, and then absolute reality, AR, and existence. That's kind of like that, or EX. So it's a circle. So, and that's the reason why it's kind of weird to have these different levels here. When you say even subjective reality, I can't remember what he used. The fantasy reality or whatever is still part of Brahman. It is still absolute reality because it exists. So therefore it is Brahman, it is absolute reality. But I think I get what the different levels. I don't like the levels though. It's just, it makes it seem like one level is in fact more important, which is what the comment said. One of the comments said, There's okay. So the comment is duality is dualist thinks that non-duality is insulting reality by calling it less real than absolute reality, but it's how language works. Absolutely true. There's no intent to insult reality as a non-dualist bow down to every element in the universe. So this is how my mind works. So when you say something's less than another, but yet you say it is absolute reality, you say, yeah, to say something is less than another, but it's absolute reality, that doesn't equal each other, because then you have absolute reality, you have objective reality, you have sub-reality. But if you were to say that just different, not levels, but to say there's different realities, but all is let's try it this way. Maybe there's absolute reality, which has objective reality and subjective reality. Subjective reality is still absolute reality. And objective reality is part of absolute reality. There's no difference between them. It's just that one is subjective, one is objective. Subjective being something internal to the individual, and objective is something external to that everyone can see. Everyone can have their input in a sense. It's like saying, this is a pen, we can see it's a pen, it's objectively true. Me feeling happy, that's subjective. You can't see that I'm feeling happy. I am so happy right now, I am busting in the seams. Do you see how happy I am? Or sad? Sad. How sad I am. Yeah, that's subjective. This pen could make me happy, but does it make you happy? Subjective. So, but either the subjective nature of things or the objective nature of things is absolute reality. Maybe that's a better way. I don't know. I definitely would like to hear your opinion on that. Would that be a better explanation? And that's the one thing I'm noticing. I think there's a rough translation. But then again, it may just be my experience, and I would love to talk to them about this. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know. I feel like I'm putting myself up on a pedestal here. It's like, I need to go talk to these people and have a better definition of things to make people better understand these, instead of saying spirit for everything, because that's confusing to a Westerner. I don't know. That's so weird. But anyways, let me find, I guess, another couple questions. I'll be right back. So probably the last question, actually. So the question is, Brian, can you give some tips on how to be more responsible in life? I've been getting frustrated because of my own irresponsibility and laziness. I am irresponsible and lazy too, so I don't think I'm the best person to give that advice. I can give general ideas, and I still really want to think this out. And there's a couple of things that a lot of these motivational speakers will say. It's generally going to be the positive things. I'll give you both the positive and negative of general things of responsibility. And I've thought about this a little bit. I hope I can say it back again, because I thought about it a few days ago. There's positive and negative responsibility. And let me talk about the negative first. So, negative responsibility. Imagine if you're working on a job, and obviously when you have a job you have a responsibility, and say your boss wanted you to do A, B, and C, and you thought to yourself, like, you know what, I'm not gonna do A, B, and C, I'll just go do something else. Come back the next day, your boss is like, why didn't you do this? I gave you a responsibility, you had to do this. It's like, no, I didn't want to do it. And your boss says, you're fired. You know, you're not doing what I'm saying. You're fired. You cost me a lot of money or whatever. And then you're like, well, I chose not to do it. I was expecting this to happen, and I take full responsibility for my actions. So while you're irresponsible, you are responsible. How do I say this? You're being responsible with your actions. So you chose not to do it, and you're not complaining about it. You took responsibility for your action, saying, well, I got fired because of it, I'm gonna go do something else. Or you're not complaining. It's like, oh no, blah 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 blah. You're taking responsibility for your action. It's a bad negative thing. The next positive would be, your boss gives you the responsibility and you do it. You take action. You say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be responsible for this. It doesn't seem empowering, but I've thought about it in a different way, to where if you didn't do that, it would have never happened. That's I want to work on that a bit more. That the fact that your choice, your ability is quite powerful in the world. Your actions, your karma, your responsibility. So for example, was it cleaning your room, for example? If you choose not to clean your room will not be clean. It's very difficult, I think, to grasp the power in that, and it's something that Jordan Peterson has said. I do believe he has a book out, and I want to get it to listen to it. But it talks about there's a lot of people, a lot of men or people out there who have lost their way in life, and apparently his book has helped them out. It wasn't meant to be a book about men or women. It was just a book for people who need help. But Jordan Peterson has got a lot of attacks from feminists, the extremes of feminists, about it, because they think it's helping men on men only, when the book, I think, was supposed to be for anyone who needed help. So anyways, back to the room, cleaning your room, which is the example he uses. Your room would not be clean if it weren't for your actions. Because you did something, something happened. Oh crap, there was an example, I think that's either Guru or Swami have said, and I wanted to use it, but I can't remember it. I should have written it down. But anyways, so for example, food. If you want food, you can cook your food. And again, if you didn't do this, this would have never happened. It's to say that it's, I don't know if you can understand how powerful that is. It's really weird. We never thought about it. Things would not exist the way it would with your touch without you doing something. So if you want to make a table, if you go out and create it, that table would not exist unless you went out there and did that. Responsibility, a bit into that sense, but I also want to suggest a video that a reaction to. You can just Google him and don't have to watch my video, which is Dandapani, take responsibility and do the work. He also says the same thing I say. I reacted to it, but I highly suggest watching his video without my nonsense talking into it. And then after you listen to what he has to say without my interruption, then if you want to hear how I interpreted that video, then you can watch it, or you can find my video and go to the link in the description. It'll have the link to the video on there. But yes, that I still need to formulate my response to responsibility and understanding. To be general, I have to formulate that to where it makes sense to a lot of people. To give precise examples of responsibility, or how to answer your questions of what are you irresponsible about, and then to give you words specifically to that irresponsibility, it's a bit difficult. I would have to know what that is. But generally speaking, there's a general statement which Dandapani and I believe Jordan Peterson has said. And one example is just, again, cleaning your room. I kind of understood that from Jordan Peterson. Cleaning a room is a small thing, but it has, again, he says it has very much power, and I think I understand it now. Because if your room's a mess and you just get up and you just go out and you come back and your room's a mess, and you go to sleep, wake up, room's a mess, you go out, do whatever you need to come back, room's a mess. Now imagine if you said, I'm gonna clean this room, and you clean it so good, and then when you come back after you clean the room, you go out to work, you come back and you're like, this room is clean. You know why it's clean? Because you did it. You did it. You took responsibility for cleaning your room. Much like, which I'm gonna be doing pretty soon, I hope, is cleaning my car. I bought a whole bunch of car cleaning products, and I'm just waiting to refer the right time. And I want to clean my car. And whenever my car is clean after I get done, I'm going to say, I did that. I took responsibility for my action. I wanted my car clean, and I did it. I did that. Being proud of your work. So that's about all I can say without yabbering too much. And I guess that's it for this video. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.